Okay. Hey, everybody. It is Kelly Nielsen here from Grace for Living After Loss. And on this channel, we provide tips, tools, and resources on how to recover from grief and loss and how to get back to living a life that you love. And this series specifically is what we're calling our loss interview series, where we are just talking to all different types of people from all different walks of life who've experienced a variety of different types of losses. And our hope with this interview is that you can watch and find a person or people that you connect with and resonate with. Either it's something about their loss is similar to yours, or just who they are as people is similar. So that two things. Number one, you can discover that you're not alone, that this, other people are going through this and other people can understand your experience. And then number two, we're hoping that you find some encouragement, hope, and strength out of these conversations and glean some wisdom from people who have been down this path before, so we can shorten your learning curve and give you encouragement to keep going and to do what you need to do to find recovery. So I'm so thrilled to have Kim Califiore, I got that right, joining us today. Thank you, Kim, so much for being willing to share your story and share your time with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I just want to start by, and I know you've experienced several losses, so why don't we just start with you sharing as much or as little about who you lost and when with the folks.
Okay, so my first major loss would have been my father in 2001 to cancer. He was sick for 5 years. Then I had a boyfriend at the time in 2005 that was actually very tragically murdered in an incident overseas. After that, in 2013, I very unexpectedly lost my mother. And most recently, just over 2 years ago, in 2021, I lost my husband, Matt.
Wow. It seems like too much loss for one lifetime. So talk to me a little bit about even just that, the fact of having lost so many significant people in your life. How do you feel like that has changed you or shaped the person that you are now?
It definitely has changed me. Certainly on the positive side, it's made me appreciate everything that I have. Not leave anything left unsaid. Not that I ever did, but just to tell all those around me that I love and that support me, how much I love them every day. In kind of a strange, positive way, each particular loss has really helped me, because it's kind of helped me see that I'm not crazy. Because that's the first thing you think when you have a loss like this, all these strange feelings and all these emotions and the different things that you go through. I'm losing my mind. I can't do this. And I guess just all the losses put together have made me realize that what you're feeling is what you need to feel to navigate this process and to navigate this journey. So in a weird way, they've all helped kind of develop a perspective, strength, certainly, and just an appreciation for life, particularly in the case of my husband. I was married very late in life. I didn't get married until I was almost 46. And we only had total about 12 years together, but I was blessed to have had him at all. So I kind of try to take the negative and turn it into the positive of, like that old saying about,
better to have loved and lost than to never loved at all. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Actually, the book that I wrote is called "You're Not Crazy, You're Grieving," because you can feel like you're going crazy because you have all these issues with your memory and cognition. And the part that surprised me so much that I feel like nobody told me about is how physical it is.
Yes.
Like, it's so physical, from headaches to stomach aches to insomnia to like, when my mom died, I felt like I had the flu for like 9 months. Like I just never, just zero energy, zero focus, all that kind of stuff. And I just remember thinking, why didn't anybody prepare me for this? Why didn't anybody, talk about this?
And it's frightening. I actually, since my husband has passed away, I had to have major surgery, and, you need the medical clearance. I had 4 EKGs flagged since my husband has passed away. And finally I said to my cardiologist, like, is this broken heart disease? And he said, it certainly does exist. He did not think that that was what was going on with me. And they cleared me and I'm fine, but it's just absolutely frightening because your body just has taken such a toll, stress wise, you know, emotionally, physically, every which way. And you don't know where to go.
Right. And I know you had some kind of longer, you know, that you knew it was coming losses, and you also had very sudden, very tragic losses. So talk to me a little bit about the differences in the grieving process and how those different losses hit you differently.
Yeah, my father, as I said, was sick for 5 years. And when he passed, first of all, we knew they had given him 6 months and he lived 5 years.
Wow.
You know, not that you're ever prepared, but we kind of knew he had cancer. Cancer kills people. Like, this, unfortunately, is what happens. So, and he had started to really deteriorate mentally too, as well as physically. So when he passed away in a terrible way, it was almost a relief because his suffering was over and his pain was over. My mother, on the other hand, was just this ball of energy, one of the strongest people I think I've ever met in my entire life. And for her she took ill in January of that year and was gone by May. It was like a bulldozer. I was just blindsided and just disbelief that no, this person that was like larger than life, there's no way that this could have happened. In my husband's case, unbelievably, my husband had been hospitalized 28 times in the last 6 years of his life. He had 2 widowmaker heart attacks. He had a cancerous tumor in his appendix, a carcinoid tumor in his appendix. And he would just keep getting up and fighting and getting up and fighting. And when finally what caused his passing was, of all things, COVID.
Oh, wow.
And all that he had been through, people still will say to me, I just can't believe, first of all, that it was COVID. And second of all, that he's really gone. And I said, nobody more than I can't believe it, you know, because it was this force of a man that just wouldn't give up. And, you know, when he finally succumbed, and that was actually very quick too. He was only sick for about 17, 18, 20 days, and then he was gone.
Oh, wow. Talk to me, because I know there's a lot of people, and actually I don't think I've done a video or an interview of anyone who lost someone during COVID. So talk to me about that, about, you know, it's the middle of this pandemic and there's all these regulations and there's all this. Talk to me about what it was like to lose someone in the middle of that and how that affected, you know, your ability to process.
Yeah, it was horrible. I mean, it was in October of 21, so it wasn't the, you know, real core of COVID, but still going on, a lot of restrictions in the hospital. I was not able to be with him day after day after day. And I had kind of this weird mindset that when he was in the hospital, as long as I was with him, he was going to be okay. So not being able to be with him worked on me mentally, that, you know, this uncertainty that he wasn't going to be okay. He was put on a ventilator almost immediately. And my husband had a lot of damage. He had been a smoker. He had a lot of underlying conditions. He really was fighting the odds as far as COVID was concerned. But the week before he died, they had called me and they said, you know, you really should come. This is not looking good. And they let me in and they let me stay with him as long as I wanted to. But then he like rallied again. So I said, okay, you know, maybe he's going to fight and he's going to get back up again. And then exactly a week later, same thing. The doctor, you could always tell the phone number. It was a doctor phone number. And they called and they said, you need to come. And I said, okay, you know, maybe he dipped again, this kind of thing. And when I got there, they were talking to me about, you know, hours, and it wasn't going to be long. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. 2 days ago, he was rallying. What are you saying? So it was just disbelief and just really limited, but they were very, very kind. They let me stay with him. And I know a lot of people did not get that chance. I was very, very lucky. I was able to stay with him, and I was with him when he passed, although he was unconscious and he was on the vent. I hope he could hear me, but It was very, very difficult.
Yeah, and you mentioned a little bit before we started recording how that loss was so different because you didn't have your support people. So talk to me about that, and then what you did to try to find your own support and embrace your own recovery journey.
Yeah, my husband was around when I lost my mother, and he was absolutely the total reason that I was able to navigate that. I'm very blessed. I do have a support system. I have my brother who's amazing. I have a great group of friends, but my husband was my security blanket. Nothing bad could ever happen to me. I always felt safe. I was never afraid because my husband always made sure that I felt protected. And when I lost him, I didn't want to go out. I hid in my house for probably, not completely locked down, but I barely went out for the first probably 4 months after his passing. And then I swung the other way where I just had to get out of the house because it was too painful and there were too many memories. And I just felt out of control and lost and afraid. I was afraid of everything when I lost him because it was just that security that I didn't have anymore. And my brother is not here. I live in New Jersey. My brother's in Virginia. My friends, great people, but none of them have experienced the loss of a spouse. So they understand, but they don't. They're very sympathetic and empathetic and supportive, but they have their own lives.
Right.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, I have always been the person in my group and in my family that has everything together. I'm the one that everybody goes to. You're sad, go see Kim. You need help, go see Kim. You're struggling, go see Kim. So having it flipped and me being the one that needed the support, a lot of people didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It almost scared them to see me like that because they were like, no, this is the girl that's always got it together.
Yeah.
And I didn't for the first time that some of them had ever seen. So it was very, very difficult to navigate. As we talked earlier, I kind of threw myself after the initial just shock and stuff. I just forced myself to do anything and everything. I got an individual counselor right away. I sought out support groups, which some of them worked very, very well. Some of them didn't work at all. But I didn't give up. The two support groups that I went to that I didn't really find were a fit for me, I didn't go to one meeting and go, okay, that's not going to work for me. I gave it a chance and it didn't work. The one that I'm in now has worked very well for me. I did a ton of reading. I did a ton of prompted journaling. Just if I needed to throw things and cry and scream, I did it. I let myself feel and do and be and act however I needed to just get through. And it's been a journey, a painful one, certainly a learning journey. And I finally have come to realize that this different life is not necessarily a bad life. Is it the life that I would have chosen for myself? Certainly not. I should probably mention too that I kind of got double whammied because I retired. I was a teacher for 33 years. I retired on October 1st of that year, and my husband died the very next day.
Oh, wow.
So I completely lost
in terms of identity.
I wasn't a wife. I wasn't a teacher. I was a nothing. And I was just like, what the heck do I do? I was just lost.
There's so many good things in here that I just want to pull out and make sure people heard, right? So
all right, when I get on a roll, I go.
No, it's great. And I love it. But the things that I heard that I hope people grab onto is that you have to really become your own investigator and your own advocate, right? And so what works for one might not work for another. And please do not feel like just because your church has a program that you have to go to that church, the program, if it doesn't work for you, or just because somebody recommends a counselor, find what works for you. And I love that, go 2 to 3 times, But here's my litmus test for support groups. If you leave feeling worse than when you came, that's a red flag.
Yes.
If there's no one there leading the group that's walking and healing, that's a red flag.
Right.
And if there's no like concrete path that you start here and you work through this and then you end here, that's a red flag. Like the groups that are just perpetually meeting for the sake of meeting. I mean, there is something about connecting with other people who get it and who've been through loss, but what you don't want to do is just continue to rehash the loss, because neurologically that actually conditions you for trauma, and a lot of bad things come with that. But I love that you tried multiple different things, and that even if it didn't work, you didn't give up. So I want to encourage people that are watching to like get that fire in your belly to get, I don't even want to say your life back, because your life will never go back to the way it was. That's another key. Like a lot of people think they can't recover because they're trying to get the life back that they had, and that is impossible. That's not going to happen. But I also love what you said, that this new life is not all bad. Right? It's not what we thought. It's not what we would have asked for ourselves, but it's what we have. And not all of it is bad. And actually, a lot of it is up to our control. And it's up to us to decide and design what we want life to look like in this new season. And that's what we help people embrace and deal with, and intentionally design. Like, okay, you have this thing. Now, what do you want going forward? And how can we help you get there? How can we help you deal with the grief and take time to think about, what do you want this next season to look like, right? Because everything is a season. You know, it's not a sentence, it's a season. And we want to help people embrace the new and next season. So I love that. And I love too, man, your identity. You had to really, and I don't know if you found it, but it's like, I find it a gift that when these other layers of identity are stripped away, you really get to know yourself, who you are, without those labels, without those whatever. You really get intimate with who you are as a person, and then making decisions and choices from that place is really powerful, you know, and really you can actually live in a much more, I found anyways, congruent or authentic way, because I'm so in tune with who I am and how I'm wired and what my limits are and what I want and what I don't want. And because we've been through loss, we tend to not get hung up on the stuff that doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
because we know what actually does matter. So like the little things that bother other people. And that is such a gift, right? Isn't it a gift to live really that way, to be able to not get hung up on that other stuff?
I've been really fortunate, because I think I've always had a good perspective on life, and I've always had a good approach to life. And I had an upbringing where, you know, it wasn't about, we had this and this much money. It was about quality time and quality people. And certainly, you know, life is not always a bed of roses. I'm not saying I had a perfect childhood, a perfect life, whatever, but I really have never had a problem with perspective and appreciation, but this has just magnified it that much more. And now I'm in a place where, okay, I have all these gifts. It's now time for me to pay it forward.
Yes.
Just give, you know, back to whoever and whatever, or just give to somebody who maybe doesn't have the perspective or the gifts or the luck, you know what I mean? Not luck, like a Atlantic City luck, just that has been blessed enough to have what I have had, and just trying to, and that in my mind also is the best way to honor my husband. And 100%. All the people that I have lost is I have this saying, live fully and with purpose.
Amen.
And since the day I lost him, after the initial, you know, there's time, but just the realization that that is the way to honor him, honor our life together, honor the love that we were lucky enough and blessed enough to share, and just to carry him with me in everything I do. So
100%. The life that we live after their loss is the highest compliment to their influence in our life and their memory and their, you know, legacy, right? So how how much we live fully, the piece after them is a direct reflection. You know, I think I talk to certainly spouses and parents who've lost kids, and they mistakenly feel that like they have to be sad in order to stay connected to their loved one, and that somehow honors them. And it's like, no, like the best way to honor your child, your spouse, whatever, is to live a full and amazing life, and one that celebrates them and remembers them and helps people. And I love that your focus is, you know, helping other people, because for me, I firmly believe all of us are put on this planet to become who we were created to become and walk that out and help other people. Like point blank, that's the reason why we're here. And so if losing people helped us to get to this place where we can be fully ourselves and help other people, then so be it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just thankful that I'm in this place and you're in this place, and now we can encourage and help other people who are going through it, and let them know that there can and will be brighter days ahead. You know, like the book's not over. Like, there's still life to be lived, and
that's not a bad thing to feel guilty about. That's another thing that it breaks my heart when, you know, people feel guilty. Oh, I shouldn't be smiling. Oh, I shouldn't be laughing. That's disrespectful. No, it's not disrespectful. I always say my worst enemy would never wish sadness on me, because that's not the kind of person that I am.
Right.
Even the person in the world that hates me the most, I don't know who that is, but would not sit there and go, yeah, I'm so glad she's suffering. Because anybody that knows me knows that, you know, I love to laugh. I love to make people happy. I love to smile. I'm goofy. I joke around. And for that to be impacted is just heartbreaking. So, you know, not every second of every day. Certainly, I still get sad. I still get lonely. You know, I'm human. It's a major, major trauma that I've suffered. But
that's what I was going to ask is and I know there's a lot of hard parts, but what's been the toughest part for you? Specifically this last loss, the loss of your husband. What's the hardest part for you?
Specifically the loss of my husband. And I actually have a different answer for that, but I'm going to kind of diverge a little bit, because I'm sure there are a lot of people. Of no control of my own, there was a lot of fracture in some of the relationships between my husband and other people, particularly with quite a few people on his side of the family. And now I'm the, you know, collateral damage. That pretty much that whole side of the family has walked away from me.
Oh, wow.
And it has been extremely painful. I don't even care so much how it impacts me. I just feel that it's such a disrespect to my husband and to his memory. And I'm angry on his behalf. I'm not even angry for myself, because some of them are toxic and obnoxious, and they did me a favor by walking out of my life.
Right.
But it hurts. And that's been hard. And unfortunately, some of my friendships have suffered and have changed. But I think it's the old saying about, you know, well, first of all, the rule of thirds, obviously, that's a big thing that I have recognized. And also just, you have people for a reason, for a season. Just because you've been friends or family or whatever for a person for a long time doesn't necessarily mean they're meant to be in your life forever. And if the relationship changes and alters and whatever, it's a reality and you have to accept it. But it was very, very hard for me to accept it first. I felt that that was the time when everybody should have been bonding together and supporting each other. And they were like, nope, peace, you're on your own. And, you know, we're mad at him. So guess what? You're going down with the ship too. It was very, very hard to accept. But like I said, a couple of them did me a favor. So, you know,
it's such a common, it's such a common phenomenon. Like I call it the loss after the loss, because I think grief strikes people so deep, and everybody reacts differently. Right. And I think a lot of us make the mistake that when we get hit with grief, we expect our support people to be support people to us. Right. And we forget that they're grieving too. And so, you know, I think in every case, in every interview, the people we thought would be there for us, that we were depending on being there for us, weren't able for one reason or another to be there. And you feel very abandoned and isolated. And it's like, man, this is the toughest thing I've ever faced. And my support people are, are MIA. They're nowhere to be found. And it's very, but out of that, you end up finding the like tenacity and perseverance to go find support wherever you can find it. Right. And I think that creates in us this inner strength that like we can depend on us and we can get what we need. And we, even if we thought it was going to come from here, like we can go find what we need, and that no matter what comes, we'll figure out a way to be okay. And that is incredibly, like, that's such a gift, you know, to know that like, whether my people are here for me or not, like I'm still going to figure it out, you know, like, but it's not fun at the time at all. Yeah. And it's so,
you know, again, kind of cliche, but the whole thing about quality versus quantity. And my circle is very, very small, but it is like a cement wall.
Yeah.
You know, my brother is amazing. My group of friends are absolutely unbelievable. And it's, you know, it's not many of them, but I wouldn't trade them for anything. They are
I used
amazing.
I used to joke that my circle was so small, it was a straight line. My circle got so small because of all this stuff. And just now, you know, I'm 5-6 years out from my losses. I'm now like starting to create some new friendships and letting new people in. But it's like, you're in such a self-preservation, like healing, emotional energy mode that like, you don't have extra bandwidth for shallow relationships or surface things. Like you need the people who are there for you, and then that's it. That's all we all really have room for. But even just now, I'm expanding my circle, and it feels good to like make new friends and meet new people and all that kind of stuff. But oh my gosh, so much goodness here. So I'm gonna say, if somebody's watching and they have experienced a similar of any of the type of losses, like what is the one piece of advice you would give them, or what's the one thing you want to tell them or have them hear you say?
Don't give up. Just forge. I hate that move forward, move on. I don't use those terms, but just keep on trying, and it does get better. It's a long journey. It's a painful journey. It's confusing, but you can do it. You have the strength. You know, lean on your people, ask for help. Don't hide, and don't expect that people can read your mind. If you need help, ask for it. If somebody asks you how you're doing, be honest and just utilize your resources, whatever they are and whatever works. Try a lot of different things and just don't give up, and just honor that person every day with your love and your memories and just good things, and just be thankful for your blessings.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. One of the things that I often say is healing isn't instant and it isn't easy, but it is possible and it is worth it. You know, like you do have a life to live beyond this, and it's worth fighting for. It's worth contending for. It's worth however long it takes, right? Like however long it takes you. And I'm such a fan of, let's shorten it to as short as possible for you, right? Because who wants to hang? This is like the toughest, most painful thing that any of us have ever been through. So let's figure out ways to shorten the process for you. And we don't ever want to compare to anyone else, right? This is a thing with you. It's like runners, and they're trying to get their best time, and they're trying to refine their techniques so that they can run their race well. And that is what we do with folks, is to help teach you techniques so that you can run your race well, and we can make this grief recovery journey as efficient as it possibly can be. But I'm confident that people are going to find encouragement and strength from you sharing with us. And I want to encourage you, if you're watching and you don't have that solid support around you and you're looking for that, I'll be sure to drop our Facebook group link below, because that is a group of people that are all committed to the work of recovery. They're all people who've been through loss, and we're all figuring it out together. We do teachings and have resources in there. So I will drop the link below. Nobody should have to go through this alone. Make sure you're surrounded by people who are cheering you on and telling you can do it. And if you don't have those in your own life, we would be happy to be that for you. So from all of us here at Grace for Living After Loss, Just know that we're cheering you on every step of the way in your grief recovery journey, and we will see you on the next video.